Susie, would Bernie's plan to hike taxes on everyone burn everyone?
You know, this is something that is everyone's going to feel. And let's talk about what Bernie wants to raise taxes for. He says family leave, but it's to increase all social programs. You know, Jack and I were recently, my husband Jack and I were recently in Reno, Nevada at a conference of auto glass installers. And one man stood up. There were 2,000 people in the room. He stood up and he said to all the auto glass installers, how many of you would hire somebody if you could when you went home, but you can't find somebody who will take a job for a little bit above minimum wage? And every single person in the room raised their hand. And the problem is nobody wants to cut out all safety net programs. But what Bernie Sanders wants to do is build a safety mattress, okay? And so we're going to have a no-work nation where people rather stay home than work. That's what happens when you raise a tax. You're paying for people to have the kind of social programs where we just have no participation and nobody is working. And that is a big backfiring.
Well, Chuck, there is a disincentive when more money is taken out of your paycheck to work. What do you think about this?
Well, I think it's good that if a woman has a baby, she could stay home from work and get compensated and take just a little bit more out of your paycheck. And I know everybody's going to jump on Chuck a little bit here, a little bit there, unfair government here and there. But there's a reason about 1.3 million different people have given Bernie their money, and his average contribution is just $30 because they kind of believe in this, and it kind of makes sense. So I think you would get increased productivity before you attack me, and I think that it would be a good thing. I'm not saying just give all the money to government, just trust them before John beats me up. I'm just saying I think it's not a bad idea.
Well, if John beats you up, you will know it. And we all love you, Chuck. But okay, John, take him on.
No. Chuck's my good East Texas friend, but we disagree on this point. I mean, this is like a running for student council president where you say everybody gets free pizza, and you say, well, how are we going to pay for that? Let's just get the rich kids to pay for it. This doesn't work really anywhere in the world. They tried it in France with a 75% tax on the super rich, and they end up getting so little revenue out of it and hurting their tax base that they had to rescind that tax.
John, this is about everybody gets taxed.
Correct. When Bernie was pressed down on this, he said he's going to actually have to raise taxes on every single person to pay for this. This populist message plays real well, Brenda, when you're talking about the super rich, because people have a discontent in America right now. If the economy was really thriving right now, this would not resonate so much. But because it's not thriving, this populist message does. But what you have to do is you have to break social problems at the core. You have to break these generational cycles in the inner cities. We're not doing that. And so just putting more money into these social programs is not the answer. Fixing the social programs, that's the answer.
Jonas?
Well, at least Bernie is being more honest, because you really can't have the European model just soaking the rich. That just doesn't really work. In Europe, they don't do that. They actually tax the rich, sure, a lot, especially in France, but they also have value-added taxes that apply to everybody who's spending money, even tourists. We've really cut back on taxes to the middle class and lower, and if we went to even the Clinton regime on the sub $200,000 income level, we actually probably have a balanced budget at this point. So we can't have more benefits without raising taxes across the board. Now, what kind of economy does that lead to? Well, it's like Europe. You're going to have a fairer society to some, not to others, but you're going to have generally higher unemployment and slower growth, just like a European country.
Okay, Gary B., the economy is not doing very well. Is this the worst time to take money out of everybody's paycheck?
I think it is, Brenda. But first, did anyone get jealous when Susie said she and Jack went to that auto glass installer conference? I mean,
hey, it was in Reno, Nevada, and I love that.
But apparently, I'm missing all these really cool events. But look, Jonas is right. Bernie Sanders was definitely honest. I give him props for that. But this fails like all other nutty big government ideas on 3 points. One, any government spending is inefficient, whether it's the new Department of Homeland Security they're building in D.C. It's billions over budget. It's behind schedule. Second point, and why it's what I call hubris, Brenda. Why does Bernie Sanders think he can get our money and spend it better than we can? They can't. Government shows that over and over. And third, maybe the most important point is they've done study after study of the optimal size of government. It's 25% of GDP. You know what ours is? 35%. So any argument you can make for government spending fails on one of those 3 points.
Well, let's get back, Susie, to taxes. That's what he wants to do. Take money out of everybody's paycheck. The last Democratic candidate who argued for broad taxes didn't do that well, George McGovern. But it seems to be gaining some ground, some populist ground. How do you think this is going to play out? Is this the worst time to do it?
I think lip service is cheap. I think you ask people in the street and you saw them in the tape say, oh yeah, I'll pay a little bit more. But when reality sets in and people are paying more, people are going to want to work less. Who wants to go work for 10% of the dollar that they're bringing in? I think that this is simple human nature along with economics. Of course, they're linked. And the more we tax, the less people are going to work. That is not the country that we are. It's not the economy we want or the country that we are.
And Chuck, again, the recovery, where a lot of people think we're not even in a recovery right now. Is this the best time to be doing it? You can argue for his family leave and for the social programs, but to actually take the taxes out of people's paychecks, is this the right time to do it?
Well, Jonas made a really good point when he talked about the tax rate now. It's much lower than it was when we had President Clinton. So I'm not saying to raise taxes on everybody and that taxes will get us out of all of our problems, but there comes a time when you want to increase productivity. You want to give people the time off when they have a child. And if raising taxes just a little bit, just like the soundbite said, if that helps do that piece and everybody pays their fair share. Our problem with taxes in the country right now is people get around paying their fair share of taxes, and a small business guy like me has to pay all the taxes and then some. But if you just ask people politically, nobody wants to raise taxes, but sometimes you have to raise them a little bit to get what you need to accomplish.
John, do you?
No, you don't. Look, Chuck is right about this. Small and medium-sized businesses pay all the taxes because the big corporations have gotten tax breaks for decades right now. But the problem with Bernie's overall philosophy is he wants to make everyone equal by making the rich poorer. I don't want to do that. I want to make the poor richer. I work a lot with at-risk kids, and when you tell them if you get an education, you go out and get a job somewhere, the problem is jobs are not there for these young people. We got to get something going with our economy, and to look to Europe and say, hey, aren't they really great? I don't think they are. Nothing against Europe. But I think America is actually the innovator. I think America has been the leader. I think we're okay. Why look to another country for our model when I think that our country is actually okay? To me, it's almost an anti-American sentiment.